and welcome back to the Spicy Pisces podcast. I'm your host, Emma Jepson, and I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for joining me today. So today we're going to be talking about what I eat in a day videos. When I'm referring to what I eat in a day videos in this podcast episode, it's more so going to relate to the people who are wellness influencers or dietitians or they're fitness influencers, something in that realm. I have seen videos where people go on a really cool vacation or they go to a theme park or at their college. I've seen this one girl who goes to Yale University and she'll show everything she eats in the dining hall all day, and it's more so to showcase the amazing chefs they have there and all the food that they create. And that's a qualification to this argument because that's not necessarily highlighting food in the sense of health and wellness and calories and macros and all of that. These accounts are focused on college life or traveling or showcasing small businesses and small family-owned restaurants and different cool restaurants around the world and maybe your city you live in and stuff. And I totally support all of that, and that's not what I'm referring to in this video. I'm referring to the people who on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever platform it may be, they post some sort of clickbait photo of them posed in a really specific way with really specific lighting, and they've edited the photo so they look like this perfect body. It's with the intent for promoting some sort of aspirational ideal, and that's how they draw in viewers and people to follow them and follow along with what they're doing. And I guess that kind of leads into the first point I had about how they're just very aspirational, and a lot of the time it's a super fabricated scheme of content, and that's typically not what that person would eat in a day. But they make every bowl look perfect and every meal look perfectly plated, and the ingredients are super clean, or they're promoted in a sense where like people couldn't hate comment them, because they're eating so healthy. And a lot of people look up to being able to eat clean like that because diet culture has instilled this idea in us where we have to have the willpower to eat clean and healthy all the time. And it's so hard to do because when you're dieting or you're following along with some sort of healthy eating plan or whatever it may be, it's so hard to stick to it because you're depriving yourself of all of these other foods that you're probably craving, and you're denying yourself from honoring your full hunger cues and craving cues. And you kind of distinguish foods as being good versus bad. And because certain foods are really good and you look online and see supposedly this is what this person eats every single day, and they eat clean like this all the time, and they stay strict with their regimen, and they have the willpower to stick with it, you're looking up to them because you're like, okay, I need to be like this person, I need to be strict. And you're looking to them for motivation to stick with your routine and stay strong on your diet or whatever it might be. And my issue with this is that most of the time this is not what this person is eating every single day. They're not eating like this all the time because things change every day. Sometimes you're traveling, work got really hectic, you're stuck in traffic, you didn't have time to, cook the perfectly healthy meal or whatever it may be. And they lack a lot of context and often portray a very insanely idealized and curated view of quote unquote healthy eating. And also, a lot of them show a bunch of supplements that tend to be really expensive. They have their green powder and their collagen powders and pills they take. And I'm not really super well educated on this stuff, so I don't want to talk about it and put out a bunch of false beliefs about it. But my personal opinion, I don't really take a lot of this stuff because, one, I don't have the money to just drop it on all of these different supplements that people promote. And two, you see someone promoting it and then you're like, okay, I need to buy this because it works for them. For some reason, we build this trust in this person we're watching because they're able to eat healthy and look this way, which I'm going to talk about the whole body image thing right after this. But because they look this way and eat this way, we have this trust in them where anything they promote, we're going to buy it then because we want to live like they're living. And you don't need to go out and buy all of these crazy supplements to try to improve your diet or body image or whatever it may be. Obviously I could totally be not even acknowledging how some of them might work, but from being a content creator myself, a lot of people will work with these brands and they're only promoting the products because then if you click on the link in their bio, they get a commission if you buy whatever the product they're promoting is, or through the link that they have in their bio, they're going to make a commission off of that or a percentage of the sale that company makes then. And I'm not a big fan of this where you just, and I did this in the beginning too because I was younger and I didn't really understand how I need to align. Like everything I do, I need to make sure it aligns with my values and what I want to promote on my account. And I'm a lot more clear about that now. But when I first started, I know that I would kind of work with brands or promote their products, even if I didn't really, even if I hadn't tried it before, I wasn't a huge fan of it just because I wanted to have some sort of visibility and they posted me on their account, or I was getting a free product and I thought it was cool, and that's super fun in the beginning. But these people that tend to have a lot more followers and viewers, they promote these products because they're going to make money off of it when really they don't even drink the product themselves or use it a lot, or they don't even know if it works, but they're just promoting that it does work because the company is telling them to say that. And a lot of the time too, they're not even FDA regulated, and I don't want to get into all of that because that's going to legal stuff in pharmaceutical industry, and that's a whole nother episode we could talk about. But that's another concern I have with it, and I don't want to generalize either because I know not every influencer or content creator does this, but it's very common with a lot of people. So I just wanted to add that in there. And the issue with a lot of these videos as well is that I've talked about this before in another episode, the whole concept of comparison and how it's almost impossible to completely prevent ourselves from comparing ourselves to other people and what we do and our behaviors to others. And I feel like with these videos, either consciously or unconsciously, you're internalizing what they're promoting and what they're showing you. And this can be really toxic when they're doing it in a way where they're lacking understanding of the consequences of diet culture and counting calories and just how toxic it can be and draining. And I feel like a lot of the people that I literally just looked up what I eat in a day videos right before this on Safari, and there was 4 YouTube videos that popped up, and every single headshot is either a model or a fitness influencer, or they have the entire, what's it called? Thumbnail. Yeah, whatever it's called, thumbnail. They have really healthy, pretty looking meals populated, and then them posing in a really specific way that I'm guessing they edited or got really good lighting to make sure they looked good in it, and that's how they draw you in. And I feel like a lot of these people aren't even dietitians themselves or nutritionists or really well educated on this topic. And I get that you're sharing what's working for you and your own personal preferences, and I totally understand that, and I'm not shaming people promoting how they like to eat, what they like to eat. It's just toxic when you're doing it in this, there's a fine line between just promoting it in a way where you just want to show people some foods you like to eat throughout the day and just doing it in a sense to give other people inspiration, and maybe they're gluten-free or celiac or dairy-free, genuinely dairy-free, or they have some other intolerance or food allergy. I think that's really great, showing other people how you can still create these kind of nourishing meals, and nourishing in the sense where they're making you feel good after you eat them and properly energized, and talk about that in another episode. But basically, I like when people promote this stuff for people that maybe have a hard time finding options for them or other recipes. I think that's fine. But there's a fine line between that and then when you do it in this way where it's even by the first photo or the first minute of listening to it, you can tell it's they're promoting this with not a lot of knowledge or understanding of how to actually properly feel your body, or maybe how what they're promoting might be triggering to some people, especially if a lot of their followers are teenagers and even younger. And even early 20s, and you're at a more impressionable age, you're looking up to these people because they look this way, and you want to eat the same way as them because you want to look like them. And I don't think maybe they do understand it, and that's why they keep doing it, because they're getting followers. And obviously I get it's a business and it's your job and you want to have people following you, but I don't think you should be doing it in a way that's making people feel, I guess this is the whole concept that I'm going to try to think about what it was, but in a sense that it's making people feel bad about themselves or feel like something they should feel ashamed for the way they're currently eating or the amount of movement they're doing, and you're trying to show them a way that's healthier or more so validated and accepted by the general society of diet culture and the beauty industry. And a lot of the times too, these people will promote calorie counting or a lot of restricting patterns I've seen on TikTok, and they are not eating nearly as much as they should be eating. And this is when it becomes extremely toxic then, because this is also how my eating disorder started. I started following a few people. I guess TikTok wasn't around when I was in or maybe it was, but I wasn't on it when I was a junior in high school. I was more so on YouTube, and the people I started following, I started watching a lot of what I eat in a day videos because the thumbnails are so eye-catching and they suck you in, and I just kept going down these rabbit holes with them, and I started watching a few people continuously, and they would just promote counting calories and how many they ate throughout the day. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, how did I believe these people when they're not even, and also, even if they are certified, you still should you don't need to believe every word they say, and you should fact check yourself and check in with yourself as well and be like, do I align with this? Do I think this is a safe way to approach this? Or this is healthy for me? It doesn't, maybe because it works for someone else, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, and that's totally okay to not agree with what people are promoting, or even maybe you like following them, but not everything they say you agree with. And that's perfectly okay, and that's good that you know that yourself, because you've set those boundaries with yourself, and you know what your needs are and what works for you, and you're not going to let anyone else's opinion or their behaviors affect how you treat yourself, and I guess in this case, go about eating. And that's something that's taken me up until a few months ago to learn. But when I was in high school, I didn't have this level of self-awareness, and I was so young and impressionable. I just followed these people, and I'm like, well, she ate this way and started counting 1,200 calories a day, and in 3 months, she said she lost 30 pounds. And I didn't even consider how that's not really healthy at all to be losing that much weight that fast. But also at the time, I was looking for quick fixes, I didn't understand at the time how that's not something you should be thinking is cool, or that you should try out yourself. You should be exiting out of that page, not following that person anymore, because clearly they're promoting something that's insanely toxic and not at all healthy for you. But at the time, I saw so many positive comments on these types of videos, and growing up, I'd also never been taught to oppose diet culture and to question and reject some of the ideas that it promotes. And I thought that what they were promoting was a good thing, because I also saw a lot of other people validating their behaviors and what they were showing online. So I was like, this is just the way it's supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. Let me just start eating like them, and the same thing will happen to me. And that is what happened, but it wasn't healthy at all, because then I got addicted to counting calories and completely lost myself. I lost way too much weight. I was insanely unhealthy, fucked up my gut health, my metabolism, my relationship with friends and family, so many other consequences to that. But this is how it kickstarts, though, because these people will follow these people, and you're seeing it works for them, but then you're not even seeing the whole picture of it. And they ate so clean every single day, and that's what they're putting online, at least. But maybe that's not what they're doing behind the scenes when they're not in front of the camera. And I was watching these videos, and I was like, okay, so I need to be doing this all the time, because that's what I'm seeing from my level of perspective by watching them. I had this mentality where I needed to be so strong and perfect all the time, and I didn't let myself honor any cravings that were quote unquote unhealthy. And that's why it became insanely toxic, because it doesn't need, your food in eating doesn't need to be that deep or that perfect. But that's what you're seeing online, so you think it does need to be. But to have a truly healthy relationship with food, you need to have that balance. Know that all foods are morally equal. Obviously, nutritionally wise, they're not all equal, and that's okay if you want to eat something that's not maybe as nutritionally dense as maybe, I don't know, just like spinach or an apple versus, a brownie or ice cream or something. Obviously, I can't say that those are nutritionally equal, because they're not. But morally, you don't need to put one on a pedestal and then the other one you're completely terrified of, and you have this fear food with it. And that's what these videos kind of promote. And they're not showing this negative effect of having this relationship with food where you're categorizing them as being good versus bad, or in the video, you're literally eating half a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, a tiny salad for lunch, a fourth a cup of pasta for dinner, and then 2 squares of dark chocolate for dessert. You're not showing the negative side effects of eating like this and having this type of relationship with food. And diet culture doesn't do this either, because it's just a business and an industry, the beauty industry and diet culture. And they're just trying to create this belief where we feel like we're insecure in something, and, there's something we need to change about ourselves. So we're going to give them all this money so that we can change the way we look. And that's why it's such a big industry. You look at the market size for it, and it's a couple billion. It's ginormous. And it's because so many people put so much money into it. because these industries tell us that it's something we need to worry about a lot. Like, it needs to be this insane fixation in our life when really it doesn't need to be. And it only shows us the positive sides of looking this way or eating this way or trying to look like the ideal that it's promoting to us. It doesn't show you the negative tear and wear that it has on people and mentally how insane it is. Physically, you don't have like any energy when you're eating minimal amounts of food like this all the time. You're not able to go about all of your daily activities or feel as focused all the time or engage in as thoughtful conversations because maybe you have more brain fog or you're not able to focus as well, or maybe your sleep is kind of off now because you're not eating properly to fuel yourself. And when you're not allowing yourself to honor your cravings, that's when you have those episodes where you binge then, or you're constantly thinking about food. And it just takes away so much mental capacity you could be pouring into other areas of your life because you're constantly thinking about food and body, when maybe you could dedicate this time to learning a new skill, looking into this new industry for a career, networking with some other people, spending time with family and friends, like genuinely being present with them, doing well in school, literally anything else. It takes away so much more focus you could be putting onto these other things. The whole thing, it just glamorizes all of this without showing the negative side effects of it and how it's not actually as healthy or glamorous as people make it out to seem. So that's my whole point with that. But then I also wanted to talk about the whole girl dinner trend that was all over TikTok this summer and beginning of this fall. I thought it was funny when people posted charcuterie boards for dinner or the Gigi Hadid pasta. Like, that stuff I can get behind. But then you have the people showing literally eating a cheese stick for dinner or a few rice cakes, or they're literally taking a slice of toast and cutting it in half. Not when you cut a sandwich in half that way, but like the other way, if you know what I mean, like from the top of where the crust kind of is, they're cutting it down that way. And it just perpetuates this whole thin ideal and how you should be not eating as much because you should want to be smaller, and that should be your main goal with food and your relationship with food and body. Like, that's what it should be focused on, when really that's not healthy at all. And your goal with your relationship with food shouldn't be to have it change the way you look. It should just to be have a healthy, and when I say healthy, I mean mentally healthy relationship with food that's making you happy and satisfied and letting you live your life to the fullest. I think that's what it should look like. And something else I wanted to talk about too is the quote that a lot of people bring up of, even if we all ate the same way and work out the same way, we would still look different. I know people use this phrase to make you feel better about it, but for some reason when I was younger, when I heard this, I'd get really mad because I'd get jealous then that some people naturally look a certain way based on their genetics, and they can eat a certain way or same way as me, and they're just going to look that way naturally. And they're typically fitting this beauty standard then, or this ideal that we have, whatever's trending at the moment. And I would just get mad then because I'm like, why do they get to look that way and I don't? And I just felt like it was totally unfair because you look at these people who fit this standard and they just seem to have it a lot easier. And I'm just generalizing too. I know eating disorders, disordered eating does not have one look, and it affects people from all different walks of life and body sizes and everything. And that I'm not saying that just because you're smaller doesn't mean you don't have your own struggles. Everyone does, because it's just so normalized in society today. And it's crazy how it's just promoted everywhere. But I feel like when you're in a body that doesn't look like that, you assume that they have it out easier. Like, if they can find their clothing size, in a mall or in stores somewhere, they feel comfortable trying things on at malls, and maybe you don't. Like, you feel like that's unfair almost, because you're like, they've never had to live a life like that where you constantly feel shitty in your body and the way you look, and everyone's always telling you need to change the way you look and whatever. But that's how I used to feel about it. But now, as I've gotten older and further on in my recovery journey, although sometimes it still upsets me and I still get a little irritated sometimes, because obviously we're all human and it's okay to not be perfect all the time. Recovery isn't always going to be positive. You're going to have some moments where you just need to feel the shitty feelings, and that's okay. But now when I think of this quote, it just reminds me that your body is like your own body, and you don't need to be at war with it because it's going to look the way it wants to look. And you don't need to keep fighting with it to try to change the way it looks to look a certain way. And it just takes away the pressure of trying to constantly change the way you look to fit this ideal, whatever it might be, because your body is going to be the way it wants to be based on your genetics and set point weight and all of these other factors when you take them into consideration. And it just reminds you that, like, maybe if you feel like you've tried everything to try to change the way you look and nothing's working, maybe there's a reason why, quote unquote, nothing's working and your body isn't changing. It's because your body doesn't want to look that way, and that's not the healthiest body for you. And while this can be frustrating, and it's okay to feel mad at the fact that maybe your body doesn't look like certain people's, or it's not going to look that way naturally, genetically, it's okay to feel that way. You just need to remind yourself that that's not the way you're supposed to look, and that's nothing to feel mad at yourself about or ashamed about or frustrated about. Like, if you don't fit this ideal beauty standard, it's not the end of the world. And I feel like so much of society tells us that if we don't look like this, then you're not worthy enough, or you're not as cool as certain people, or pretty or beautiful. And there's this whole narrative that tells us our appearance and our ability to fit this ideal beauty standard directly impacts and is the most important determining factor for how valued we are and how worthy we are, which is complete bullshit, because that's just so superficial, right? That's not how you actually form genuine relationships with people. And when I value, a relationship I have with someone, it has nothing to do with the way they look, because if it was, then my relationships wouldn't be genuine connections with people that have helped me in my life and helped me become a better person and get through some hard times and just have fun. I value being funny, being loyal, being a good listener, being genuine, like actually caring about me. Those are so much more important to me than the way you look. But the whole narrative tells us that if you don't look this way, we need to do everything in our power to try to look this way, to feel validated and to feel seen and accepted and beautiful and pretty and sexy and whatever it might be, which I internalized that for the longest time. And now that I've kind of learned to oppose and reject this mindset, I'm just like, why the hell was I thinking that way? Like, it's crazy to think that this industry is allowing themselves to tell us this and feed us this mindset that the way we look is the most important thing in our life, because that's just not true at all. And if you've lived like a real life, you'll know that's not true either. And if you've been through shitty moments, you'll know that has nothing to do with the success of your life or how happy you are or how fulfilling your life. It has nothing to do with that at all. You can just simply let your body do its thing, be itself, change as you age and go about different life experiences, because at the end of your life, everyone always says this, when you're lying on your deathbed, you're not going to give two shits about if you were 20 pounds lighter during this time, or if you were a size 2 at this time. You're going to be thinking about how much fun you had in your life, the different experiences that you had, the people you met, the paths you crossed with other people at certain points. You're not going to be thinking about food, or hopefully not food and body all the time. And like, when you get to that point, you're just going to be thinking about the life you lived and the impact you made. And the way you look is so trivial in the grand scheme of life. And I think that's really important to remember, because diet culture and the beauty industry feed us this belief that it is the most important thing in our life, when it's really, really not, because your life is so short and you shouldn't spend this insanely short, precious amount of time on something that's really not going to matter when you're older and lying on your deathbed or whatever. And I feel like your life is too special to be spending it just hyperfixating on body and image 24/7. And you were put on this earth to do so much more than that. And you have so much more meaning and purpose. And don't let diet culture, beauty industry tell you otherwise or try to take that away from you, because I think you are capable of so much more. And when you're constantly thinking about food and body, you're not able to focus on these other things that are going to make your life so much more fun and enjoyable and so much more important to you. I don't know, I'm just going off in a rant here because I got a lot to say about this topic. But something else I did want to say before I ended was, I have posted what I eat in a day videos in the past, and I don't think I posted one for like at least 2 years now. And when I did, it wasn't with malicious intent. It was simply just to showcase what someone eats in recovery. And I've seen a lot of these videos, and I love that people are sharing, because it's almost holding them accountable to eat and show the foods that they're eating and when they finish it. I really love that whole concept of supporting each other in recovery. And there are nuances to this topic and certain qualifications to the argument of why I don't love what I eat in a day videos. And there are some that I really love and support, but I think with any of them, if you see one and it's going to make you uncomfortable and trigger you, you've every right to either unfollow this person if they're constantly posting them, or exit out of the app or scroll past and go to another video. You have every right to do that, and you don't need to force yourself to watch it if you don't want to. And I know when I've posted mine in the past, it was just to highlight fun recipes and, again, like I said, recovery. I think I finally realized that I don't want my content to be triggering to anyone. And although maybe it might not be triggering to me to post about what I eat in a day sort of vlog or whatever it might be, I know that it might trigger some other people. And so I'm not going to do that, because now I'm aware of how kind of my content and actions affect other people and how people are actually listening to what I have to say. And I actually do have a platform. I think I've realized that too as I've grown, and I want it to be a safe place where everyone feels comfortable viewing my content. And whenever you see a story post and you click on it, you know it's not going to be something that's going to trigger you. It's going to be something that makes your day better, brighter, or makes you feel validated and seen and heard, or you can resonate with something I'm posting because you're dealing with something similar. I don't want anything I post to be triggering at all. So if there's ever anything I post that does trigger you, please let me know. I want to make sure that I'm being respectful to everyone and making sure my content feels safe to everyone, and maybe there's certain things I've missed, but that's essentially why I don't post them anymore. Anytime I see one, I'll exit out of the app I'm on or scroll past it. And I finally deleted TikTok, so I don't see those anymore, because they would just pop up unsolicited and you're immediately like watching the first 5 seconds. I don't watch them on YouTube anymore. If I see the thumbnail, I will not click on the video because I know it's going to make me feel bad and shitty about myself, so I don't do it. I guess to wrap up, I just wanted to say that everyone has different preferences about what they like to eat. Everyone has different needs depending on their daily activity, the work they do, the food you have access to. I mean, in these videos, they show people where they seem to just be in their apartment the entire day, and they're able to cook all their meals from home and work out in their apartment, and they have all the time in the world. But a lot of people work office jobs or service jobs where they're out doing things and they don't have the ability to just cook every single meal for themselves at their own apartment or wherever they live every single day. That's just not the case. And depending on what your needs are, sometimes you need to buy food out. You need to buy it from a place you're at. If you're driving somewhere, traveling, maybe a convenience store, some restaurant at the airport, or if you are traveling, like at the different restaurants wherever you're going or whatever food is around. It doesn't need to be perfect all the time or the same thing every day. And you certainly do not need to restrict or follow these what I eat in a day videos that show extreme restriction and very disordered eating habits and counting calories and macros. If that does not make you happy, you need to eat what makes you feel satisfied, what makes you feel good and fueled, and honoring your cravings as well is super important. And just figuring out what works for you specifically, because again, everyone's needs and desires are so different, and you just need to figure out what works for you. And that takes a lot of trial and error and testing out different things. But I think you just need to listen to your gut and your intuition with something. And if it's telling you this is probably more disordered, then maybe you shouldn't be following along with it. Then you don't need to do it. And also, just because someone looks a certain way doesn't mean they're a trustworthy source and you should be copying exactly everything they do. You're allowed to form your own opinion on things. And you should also realize that just because someone looks thin, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily eating in a quote-unquote healthy way or what they're doing is healthy. And just because they look like they fit this ideal beauty standard doesn't make them a reliable source necessarily. And you should still do your own research and know that you're allowed to incorporate also what works for you. You don't need to be following all these different diets and all these different ways people eat or promote on the internet. Exactly. You can do what works for you. And the way you look doesn't necessarily correlate to how healthy someone is. And a lot of the times they don't necessarily go hand in hand, but for some reason we just associate being thin with being healthy. And that's just not the case, because body diversity is a real thing, and not everyone's meant to be a size 2 and have a thigh gap and perfectly flat stomach and like all these things that we idealize and promote in society as being highly sought after and desired. That's not what everyone's healthy body looks like. And it doesn't mean something's wrong if your body doesn't look like this. You don't need to go out and try to change something about the way you look if you don't have, a perfectly flat stomach or whatever it might be that you're insecure about, that the beauty industry and diet culture have told you to be insecure about. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. Your body is just simply the way it is, and body diversity is so real. Everyone's body looks so different, and our set points and how our body grows and develops over time is going to look so different from one another, and there's no one way to look. And I think just remind yourself of that more often. Your body, just let it be, let it exist, and allow you to live your life. And you don't need to constantly be comparing the way you look and the way you eat to other people that we see online in these videos. Just, again, do what works for you. I can't express that enough, how important it is. But just do what works for you. You don't need to do what works for someone else if it doesn't work for you or it doesn't make you feel happy. I am rambling at this point, so I'm going to wrap up now. But if you made it to the end, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did enjoy it, I'd really appreciate it if you left me a rating on whatever platform you're listening on, preferably 5 stars, but whatever you think it's deserving of. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, your week, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.